I think that there's many, and I think one of the things I hope to accomplish here is to grow food in a way that's better than what's available at your best grocery stores.
Yeah.
And then I want to see if I can have raw dairy here that does not cause me the problems that I'm used to experiencing with dairy. So then I can get back into, because when I was younger, I drank milk, like several glasses of milk a day. But we had a dairy cow at my granddad's place, and so we drank that. So I would like to, I wonder how a lot of my stuff will be with this much higher quality food, with very rich soil from good soil structure, from a no-dig kind of scenario. And I think that at this point in time, I think that the best food that you can buy at your favorite organic grocery store is going to be the organic pasture-fed beef. And the reason is that the cattle are eating from a polyculture, and your organic carrots are being grown in a monocrop.
Yeah.
So, and those organic carrots are being grown not only in a monocrop, but it's a heavily tilled monocrop. And
there's a lot more deforestation going on with those kind of crops than there are with animal crops.
That's true too. So I kind of feel like I feel like the food that I eat is it's probably better than most people. I'm probably, for quality of food that I eat, it's probably in the top 2%. But I'd like to grow food that's in the top 0.01%. And I think that'll make a big difference for not only my health, but the health of others. For the year.
Another point that came to mind watching that video was if you're a vegan, that doesn't mean you don't have to have animals or you can't have animals. I get it if it's the captivity thing, but you can still have animals without the captivity thing, as Paul can attest to with chickens. But having animals, they serve more purpose than just meat. And this is a big thing in permaculture. We look at all of the things the animal produces and all of the things the animals need. Well, they produce more than just meat. Like if you look at the example of pigs are more than just meat. You can use them for a lot of different things. You can use them to make ponds. You can use them to take down certain crops that you want out of an area. Things like that. You can use them for their manure. And there's a lot more purpose. And once that pig is ready to go, you can use them to better your community by sharing that meat with them, if you're not going to eat it. I don't know.
So I think a lot of vegans are going to be upset about a lot of the things that you said.
That's fine.
Because it's going to be, you shouldn't be exploiting these animals kind of a thing. But I think you're right. I mean, it's like, I think that in a full farm ecosystem, in permaculture, then you're going to have a plethora of life, which is going to include a variety of different animals. And the land thrives with the animals being there on the land. And so then, it's a symbiotic relationship with Mother Nature.
Yeah, absolutely.
And without these animals, I think that if you're a vegan, then you would want to have animals in your system then as well. It would be better. Now, a lot of them are like, oh, I have deer come through, and the wild turkeys, and I have,
Well, you could also say you're coaxing those deer onto your property with the things you're growing. Like, that's not right.
I think that as we explore this space, I think that there's fuel for vegans and non-vegans to have a war. And what I'd rather do is embrace both.
Yeah, I think they can work together a lot better than against each other. For example, if you had a vegan and a non-vegan living on the same farm, you could have the vegan raising this animal to take care of things so that it's raised the most ethically way possible by their standards, and then the other person growing vegetables for that vegan while they get the meat from the vegan's animals, things like that, which I know is probably against the vegan code or whatever, but I think there's a lot of room to work together.
I think that I mean, different vegans are going to have different sets of veganism that they're comfortable with. So Fred's a very strict vegan. He doesn't eat honey, although we've talked about like how there might be this 1% chance of a certain scenario where honey would be okay for him to eat, but it's like he's pretty serious about it, and Fred is a great guy, and Fred is never, in fact, we'll be eating meat, and Fred will sit down with us, and he'll have a vegan meal, and it all is very, very smooth. So I think hopefully I don't say anything that pisses off Fred, and I know Fred never says anything that pisses off me, and he's never been like, you have to eat vegan, or he's never. So, but I think that there's like this a massive group of vegans that are totally cool with people choosing their own path, and I like to think that we've got a good group of everybody that's not a vegan that is cool with the vegans, and I want to encourage that path. That's the path I would really like to encourage, because I see a lot of this militancy on both sides, and I kind of wish for a militancy act of me in this space. I think that it would be good for every person to find their own thing, and we're cool with everybody doing their own thing. I think that's just the good and right and decent thing to do.
Yep. I'm all for living however you want to live, as long as you're not trying to force me to do it.
Yeah.
Let me live how I want to live. You live how you want to live, and I'm sure we'll get along just fine.
I think some vegans might have animals in their permaculture systems, and I think some vegans won't.
Yeah.
And
Brian asks, why no honey? Is it something about using bees and taking their resources? Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, so we were talking earlier about like using the pigs to help seal the pond, and it's like, well, is that cool or not? And so some vegans would be like, that's not cool. And some vegans, I've heard of, there's this real beautiful woman over in the Seattle area, Bellingham, and she calls herself a vegan. And so she's a vegan, and she eats honey.
Oh, I thought you were going to say eat bees.
No, she doesn't eat bees. She's in a couple of my videos.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so I kind of, somebody was saying something about how Paul Wheaton's videos always have these especially beautiful women in them, and it's like, yeah.
Well, yeah.